Good morning, Quasar Markets Live. Welcome back. You have your host, Howard Greenberg, here with the man himself, Big Beat Stephen Orr. How are we doing today, Steve?
All right, it looks like the markets are starting to chill out. We talked about this yesterday, right? That here we go into the holidays. People are starting to maybe chill out a little bit on their trading a little bit. Volumes are starting to come down a little bit, and you're starting to see it reflected in crypto because it's low volumes and high volatility, which is always bad. But when you look at it from the perspective of some of these earnings coming in, let's be honest. Earnings aren't as good as we thought they were going to be.
Yeah, I asked you about that before we came on. I asked if the bars may be set too high. You were explaining that, look at the price to earnings ratio, right? If you could explain to our viewers a little bit what you look at to see if that bar is too high or set at the right spot.
Yeah, I mean, we know where the price earnings ratio is averaging out, right? And right now it's it's too high. It's at 35 something. I didn't even look lately, but it's 35. The average ratio, PE ratio of the whole market is usually right around 15, 16. That's the average. And when we're getting way out of the whack, we're getting levels of like we're talking about the .com era, even 1929 levels, right? So when I start to see that kind of thing, okay, great, okay. So people will say, but well, Steve, big beat, look, the markets are high because earnings are coming in. Well, guess what? They're not. We saw that this morning, right? They're not coming in that are matching those PE levels, and because of that, you're seeing, quite frankly, that's what's happening, right? So. And then they're slipping a bit. They're not matching the high lofted PE ratios. Of course, they're not, but it just seems that the traders right now just don't care, and there's so much cash on the sidelines they don't even know what to do with it. So they are buying these tech stocks, which is still moving the markets. But I still feel that a rug pull is coming. I look, I feel like a broken record, but I will be vindicated. I know I'm always, almost always vindicated, so I'm not too concerned. But this one could be a nasty rug pull. And look, it's not going to be one that just pulls it out and it says, okay, it's 50% return retracement, nothing like that. How do I know this might possibly happen? We saw it in crypto, right? You saw it in Bitcoin. Look, that rug pull was rough the other day, the biggest one in history in Bitcoin, and we're struggling to get back to the 100,000 again, right? I mean, it went to like what 94,000 from 104,000. I mean, if that happened in the stock market, people be jumping out of windows in New York, right? So we're not seeing that. So look, this is what I'm talking about. We're starting to see cracks, and the cracks are no longer cracks; they're now widening now. And I think you mentioned this morning to me that the media is even changing their tune on all of this. And look, okay, great. You're about a month late, guys. And that's what I'm saying. Like, just be prepared. I am not on margin or anything, and I'm not done anything. I mean, I'm literally trading day by day, and most of the stuff I have a long term stuff. I don't have anything out there that I'm trying to make bigger bucks on. I'm too nervous right now.
Makes sense. Not at all a wrong philosophy to take profits when they're available there for sure. As you said, Bitcoin for me, I get just a little worried that we could see a drop down towards that 90 level I talked about. And my reason for that is we're seeing all the reports about how much Saylor and others are buying, and it's not holding the price up completely. So I'm not
Right.
worried at all. I think it's an okay correction. We want to develop levels in that area. We want to see that stuff happen. It's normal market movement, but I will say, sort of how you are scared a little bit for the overall market. I feel that way right now for Bitcoin's price. I feel like we're holding on by a thread as opposed to ready to make our bust through our
Well,
next
let me
move
let me
up.
ask this question to you. I mean, Howard, obviously with Bitcoin here, I mean, to me, it feels like some of the long-term holders, the OGs, the people that have been around as long as we have, are saying, "Wait a minute here. This is a pretty good number here for me." And I've done it. I've taken some off. I think it's silly not to take profit off. In fact, I tell people around me all the time. There's some that say, "I'm going to go to a million." Well, that okay. I'm glad you are. That's great. It's stupid, but I'm glad you are, because I understand that we've made some money here. Take some profit off. Put in other crypto if you want to, or invest other words. But if you come back to me and then now we're at 20,000, oh, I should have took money off the table. That's, I mean, you've been warned, right?
Yep.
Um, And there's a reason why we invest. It's not, we don't invest to see our piles just grow, that we build wealth, but we also want to see those piles pay for things like, oh, I don't know, kids' educations, and we want to see new cars in
Sure.
and pay for your house, right? Now, if in my case, my crypto is staying in that crypto account, been there forever, and it becomes my part of my bank. It's another account, right? It's not just to put back in the cash. So, but we need to make sure that we're protecting ourselves, right? Because there's no VIX for the Bitcoin, right?
Right. Well, I
Now
guess
there
you,
may be,
now there sort of is. You could look for downside protection through options that weren't
right?
available. So there is a much more sophisticated thing. What I also would say is that, it was interesting. We talked about it yesterday with Dr. Alan Ellman. That interview comes out today on YouTube
Hey,
here at 10 o'clock. And he talked about there's a time cost to money, right? If you're holding money, that's where people, don't really look at it correctly sometimes in my boat, or in my book, is that you're right, is it's going to continue to appreciate. The question is your money best served by just sitting there, or like you said, by taking profits and, as we call it, stacking sacks, waiting for the next dip, buying that dip again, and maximizing dollars. And listen, for some people, they just don't have that, in them. They just, in their eyes, they're more of a long-term investor. That's fine. It's everybody, invest how you'd like. Just make sure you're out holding some Bitcoin. And also, don't FOMO back in. I don't know if Zora's in here this morning. As you know, she comes in most mornings to talk to us here. She was getting a little nervous. She was trying, she was moving up that wish list yesterday. She was talking to me, and she got above like 95, and I'm like, you shouldn't be there. Move that back down. That wish list is a wish list. It's not,
that's
you don't
right,
have to be back in it today. That's what
right,
everybody gets scared about. And I loved, again, Dr. Ellman talked about it, is don't get emotional about this stuff. It's about earning money,
right.
about making income. And what I'm going to start to look at, though, is to talk to people like him and Scott Bauer and the other people we have here at Quasar that are option specialists, to talk about, okay, now that you have your Bitcoin, how do you use options to earn some money on it? Is to maybe make some money on what you hold. Those are the things that I would talk to, like our friend Aaron Schurz about, and others, is don't be afraid to use it to make other money. So that's the other thing there that to keep an eye on. Steve, I got to bring up Alaska Airlines right off the bat here. I know we've beat up, the FTC a lot here, but it really played out as you really look at Alaska Airlines versus Save, right? Alaska Airlines, up really big today on news about the fact that they're expanding their routes. That merger with a Hawaiian Airlines gave them access to wide body jets. So now they're getting into better routes. And just look at this, up, 11% today. All time highs were hit just recently. This is what we want to see in the U.S., right?
Yeah, I mean, like I talked about Alaska Airlines 3 months ago. I said I love Alaska Airlines. I think what they're doing with Hawaiian Airlines is awesome, because now you've got the whole West Coast and not just a few places. And because of the curvature of the Earth is not flat, folks. Just so everybody knows here.
Don't tell
That when
Kyrie
you
Irving.
when you fly in a curve, right? Even when you fly from, and when you fly from Alaska, or you fly from Seattle and you fly to Japan, there's not a straight line. You curve. You
Yeah.
fly from, I'm going to Tokyo. It's curved, right? You fly over Alaska, you fly down because the Earth is curved. Um, but when you talk about it from the perspective of getting to Hawaii, there's not a lot of places that does that, right? United Airlines, American, but Alaska and Hawaiian Airlines do, and it's still a never favorite destination of many Americans,
Yeah.
especially those on the West Coast. Even people in Vegas, they take the
Absolutely.
train up to LA and LAX right straight to Hawaii. They got more choices now, right? And when you fly, when I tell people the number one that I want to fly on, and I would say, hey, what airlines do you like to fly on the best? And of course, we all have our favorites because of our status miles. But you know what the number one is? It's Qantas. People say Qantas is the best airline. It's Australian Airlines
Yep.
because their service is great. They have great big jets. They move around the world faster. They're always going to Japan. Their Qantas goes to the West Coast of the United States because
Yeah.
right.
UAE, they're big into Saudi Arabia.
That's right. And so they're looking at those kind of things, and Alaska Airlines has done a very good job with that. They've done a good job with saying, okay, we know that quality, being on time, easy of getting on and off the jet, all those fun things, and they've done a good job. Spirit Airlines was the opposite. They are a budget airlines, but there was no reason for them not to be able to merge with JetBlue. But JetBlue needed the big seats, which what Spirit does. They needed more routes in Florida, which we all here in Florida needed, and
Yeah.
that's why I flew Spirit quite a bit because it was easy, right? It wasn't my favorite. I'm a United Airlines guy, but when I look at it from that perspective, that's what we needed to do, and the airlines did not do a good job, and the FTC did not do a good job, and because of that, and guess what happened when the mergers happened with HA, Hawaiian Airlines, and with ALK, Alaska Airlines? You saw what happened, right?
Yeah.
Stocks way up, roots are up, people are happy, people are moving around the country like as do Southwest. And
Yeah,
when you
again, it's sad to see that, that's what happened to Spirit, and they allowed it to happen and forced it to where it got into that boat. More on good news though. Let's stay in the airlines area. Well, two things. Number one, a surprise for me that was talked about a lot in both the Alaskan Airlines news today and also an American that's up nicely today. Credit cards. They're moving
yeah,
really big into that financial area. You just talked about it. It's about your status, right? A lot of ways nowadays, what they've done is they've made it impossible to earn it just by miles. You would literally have to be spending money with them to take advantage of some of these things. We've seen that. So it's something that I know I'm now going to take a closer look at when I'm looking at airline stocks is and their earnings reports. What are they doing in that financial area? Because what is that? Again, free money, so to speak, right? Their credit cards,
Senator
they get their
Hawley
rates.
of the state of Missouri was grilling Visa Mastercard CEO. I saw the video of it. So tell me, what is the percentage that you make? And
Oh
they
yeah, they
charge 3 to 5%, right, to the customer,
yeah.
pass through to the business, right? And then if the customer doesn't pay, they charge 27%. They
Yeah.
have the highest margins in the industry, 30%. Then he goes, "Well, that's interesting. So you're telling me that your margins are 30%. No, Senator, we're telling you our margins are roughly
Percent,
50%.
right? Because
What the
they
heck?"
give people credit that shouldn't have it, and then when they don't pay, they hit them again. Yeah,
Correct.
I'll say again, Bitcoin fixes this. Crypto, especially XRP, that's why we've seen Ripple's move up. It's pulled back. I will say for those of you, I had Ron hit me up this yesterday asking about Ripple. I didn't respond till this morning, and when it dropped down, said to him, "Yeah, this is probably a time now." It had been as high as 270. It's down around the 220 area. Again, Ripple is going to be one of those answers for that solution. We've seen it. And we're going to see it take more and more of a stake in the business. Steve, I saw Oracle, like we talked about, was one of the ones that got hit here this morning. A couple that I'm keeping an eye on this morning. I am interested in AI here on a pullback, and partly because on the hourly, it just has a great setup if you look at it from just strictly a technical. You pulled back from this, 49 area back to this 38 area. It's giving you some fib levels to look at for a mean retracement. You have some good liquidity that we've shown here in this region between 37 and 38. Again, I like when I see a wick that covers that whole area in a short amount of time. So, when it made that drop, it bounced back nicely. It's starting to trade a little bit sideways here, but definitely one I'm keeping an eye on today. I do think that this one has the ability to make a nice move back up. Looking forward for a move towards 43 here, where we see it's gotten through it, but it's definitely struggled
I
there
would
a
I
little
would
bit.
ask you, Howard, to pull up a 1 hour chart on
That's what it's
this.
on. This is an
Yeah,
hour, one
okay,
hour.
yeah. And I'm looking at the same thing. I think you're right. That line holds a little bit. You're good. Look, we're just in the first inning of AI. I don't even we're not even in the first strike. I don't even know. We're just starting out in AI. When people talk to me about .com back in the day, and I tell them the same thing. Man, we weren't even in the first inning back then, and we still weren't back then. And
Yep.
right now, the internet today, you can't even live without it. You can't even imagine not being able to be online, right? In 5 years, you won't even be able to imagine without having AI something in your system, right? We do already, and I wanted to be ahead of that game with Quasar Markets, which we are. And
Absolutely.
C3 is a big player in that, right? C3 is the company. I also say I've told everybody Palantir. Palantir is the same
Absolutely.
situation. I mean, we've nailed Palantir, right? But in order to make all of this happen, we need two things, right? We need battery power
And
and we need quantum computing,
yeah.
right? Because mobility is lithium, and we know that, and I understand that there's other ways of battery power. It could be sodium with salt batteries and all kinds of cool things. Hydrogen batteries we're looking at now, especially for cars. But it's still lithium, right? And I would tell people if you want to know the picks and axes of the quantum computing and AI side, look at ALB. It's Albemarle,
Albemarle.
right?
Yep.
I've talked about Albemarle since the summer, when the stock was right around $80. Today, the stock's probably around, there you go, 100, and now 110 yesterday, 108 today. There you go. That tells you everything you need to know about what's going on, right? You need these things to make these things happen. So if you want to buy the picks and axes, well, there you go. You're not just betting on whether or not that the AI world is going to take off in that direction, right? Palantir was different. Palantir wasn't just about AI. They needed government contracts, and they got those government
Yep.
contracts, and they're getting more and more government contracts. So it's not, when a government says yes to a company, guess what? They're going to, AI, C3 has that, right? They have government contracts, and they're getting even more government contracts. And especially with this new administration talking about efficiency, um, yeah, you're going to see AI being efficient because you've got a guy, Elon Musk, who has Grok. I mean, the
Yeah.
guy's talking about AI. He knows AI. He understands it. So
Yep.
he's saying we're going to be implementing AI. Think about AI in the IRS. There may not even be a time when you fill out a form anymore. AI knows how much you made, knows everything about you. Just says, "Here's your bill. Pay it, or you're in trouble." Right? Right?
Hey, by the way, Ron's pointing out that you've been talking about Albemarle for several years, not just for a
Yeah,
few
that's correct. Yeah,
weeks.
yeah.
And
And
you
I've been
have. That's
right.
been one. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, another one where you and I have a little bit of a difference here is Oracle because they are one with EPS is very high in the mid 40 range. So their earnings yesterday. But my only thing there that my takeaway from Oracle, they're moving very big into the data centers. And
Yes.
they're big enough to challenge the hyperscalers. There are
Yes.
four hyperscalers out there that we all know and talk about. And I think that Oracle is making a move into that area in a big way. So I'm more looking at a sort of philosophical approach from Larry Ellison and his team that he realizes that data centers are going to be so important. We're seeing and we're seeing it as much as the crypto Bitcoining companies are making these big moves up because of Bitcoin's price. Others like CleanSpark and some of the others are making big moves up because they have the electricity already at these data centers that they're now talking with Microsoft and these other companies and saying, hey, yeah, now you want to build here? Sure, you can build right behind us. We got this big spot right here. Go ahead.
Yeah.
We've got the energy contract already. They went after the cheapest energy. They wrapped it all up. They took long-term contracts. So Oracle's one that I am watching also down here. I do understand that
And we
EPS
just talked about that,
truly
right? Think
high.
about this. These companies that are growing like this, right? Okay, you're right. There's going to be an ecosystem around that, and I think Elon Musk was smart. I didn't understand taxes at first. I thought, oh, maybe it's just taxes. It's not. It's one thing that he gets: land.
Energy, land and
Energy.
energy. They
It's
have the
right next to
most.
each other.
Yeah. And
Plenty of
disconnected
land,
from the grid. That's what you
oil,
want.
off the grid, solar, wind.
Yeah,
He's
that
got it
wind is
all.
not going anywhere. That's where crypto mining companies, like I said, have such an advantage because they've been chasing that stranded energy, is what we call it, for years. They've gone to these places where there's hydroelectric dams and there's no infrastructure in Central and South America and parts of Bhutan that they took advantage of. They're out in Texas doing that they're following the gas companies and doing flaring of methane gas as an
Yeah.
offshoot. These are the things that are going to power the next data centers. It really is energy that energy. We talk about it. What is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is energy, right? You're
Yeah, and
buying
I think you're
basically
right,
energy.
Howard. There's not going to be no more flaring anymore on these drills, right? They're going to
Yeah.
take that methane and start to use it because it's cheap gas. I mean, I've explained this several times to people. When you drill a hole in the ground to get oil, right, and it's not just flat, right? You're on flat ground. You put a derrick up. Derrick goes all the way through, hits the oil down here, but in that oil patch, wherever the oil is, right? There's a little section on top that's
Right.
got gas. That's what holds the oil
Hold it
down.
down.
So
Yeah.
when you push a hole through it and there's gas in there, boom, that's why you get a gusher, right? Well, what they do is they burn that off to depressurize the well, and then they pump it out, right? And then the
Yep.
derricks that go up and down and pump it out. So what they do is they just flare it off. But right now, these companies that are like these miners and these other quantum computing companies were like, wait a minute, instead of flaring it off, just shoot it over to us. We'll take that. We'll store that methane. We'll store that nat gas. There's several gases that go in. It's not just one.
Yeah.
Because the dinosaurs didn't say, hey, please make me methane or
Methane,
please make
right.
me natural gas. But they're going to siphon that off and use that. That's free energy. They're just
Yeah, and
burning.
and what's interesting there again, and we'll talk about it in a little while as I bring up Chevron, because quickly those oil companies and gas companies saw the profits that the Bitcoin mining companies were made, and they quickly got into that business. And became methane users to power their own energy needs and things like that. So again, it is something that is being done, and where the crypto industry has led other industries in that technology, like we talked about. That was always, one of the things that we talked about in conferences and when we talked to senators and congressmen in DC was what you've got, when they complained about how much energy Bitcoin uses, we pointed out that they need cheap energy. They are the people that are going to help figure that energy system out, and they figured out how to go to these windmills in Texas and these solar panels that weren't connected to the grid and build data
Yeah.
centers right there, and now everybody wants a piece of that. So they
Right.
were early in that stage. But Oracle, another one I was looking at, got to say, a lot more misses than hits when it came to earnings yesterday.
Yeah.
um you know, MongoDB, that's one that you have a little bit more insight on there, Steve, too. Again, data centers, cloud computing, right? That's their
Okay,
world.
so yeah, we use MongoDB. I can tell you all about MongoDB.
Yeah.
Look, MongoDB is a place where they handle large structured data. And I've said this, oh, I can't tell you how many times that that's the key to all of this, right? Is AI. So it's not just about AI taking your data and looking at your data, it's restructuring your data. And they have a product called MongoDB Atlas, and Atlas does that for you. They restructure your data. The problem is a lot of companies don't want to give MongoDB access to it because they don't want to see them see their data.
Data, right.
Sorry, they're pretty much it just is what it is. But that they do a very good job of that, right? They take our data, they restructure our data in a way that kicks it back out much faster. It's what our AI does. Listen, our AI is 4-time award winner
Yep.
AI. So look, take advantage of this. The MongoDB is our database restructurer, and we have several. Don't get me wrong; they're not the only one, right? We have
Right.
several types of ways of doing things, but we do use a lot of the products, and I tell you, they're not going to go away. They're only getting bigger. They did have a slip here, and they missed. And I think a lot of it has to do with a little bit of a pullback from these companies that are looking to build their own database
Yeah,
restructurers.
well, and it wasn't. No, again, I think it's that I was trying to see it. I can't even set the bar there because they don't show their EPS here on TradingView. When I looked at their financials, but they had a 70% beat on
Oh, of
EPS.
course they did, but it's not. But it's not keeping up with what
Right,
people are
with the
seeing.
ratios. Yeah, that's what
Right.
I was trying to find it. You can't. I don't know why TradingView doesn't show doesn't show it there on theirs. It might be because they're recycling because of earnings coming through. But they didn't have it there. But that's definitely one I know that you had more insight on. I thought that was interesting. BRZE, another software company, down about 4% here this morning. I talked a little bit earlier. Momo, another software company, down about 5% here this morning. So we are seeing it, hit pretty across the board there. Not great earnings. Um, Gas stations, Casey's had a
Yeah.
miss, down about 2%. I think they're the worst of the group, and they're building one right here
I'm gonna tell
near
you
my
what.
house.
Catherine and I went out to eat last night and went to a kind of a strip mall area where it was, and I saw something I hadn't seen for ever.
What was that?
I saw electric vehicle charging in the strip mall, and I saw it full. Every single one of
Yeah,
them was full.
yeah,
I was on Alligator Alley over the weekend. Miccosukee Tribe that has the big gas station there on Alligator Alley. It no longer just has gas stations. They have superchargers. Every
yeah.
single one of them was full. I saw over the weekend 15 Cybertrucks. Electric vehicles are coming. Hybrid are coming, whether people like it or not. They may like their cars, they may like their gas, and I look. I'm a hybrid guy. I think it's we're right in the middle, and I'm right because half the people are doing gas and half are doing electric. So I want to go farther, right? I think it's over for. I think it's a matter of time. I think
It's
that
just a
the
matter of how long, because as we know, one
agreed.
of the
No,
biggest
agreed.
strong problems is exactly like you said. We don't even have an adoption rate that's very big here, and we don't have enough charging stations.
Yet,
So that's right.
yet.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people put them out there, and we've seen, from Plug, which is a good one to take a look at. I know we've been in that over the years.
My mom
PLUG.
had to take my plug for my car and plug it in the house.
Yeah.
And she was
No.
like, "This is good stuff. I like this, right?" And but they weren't shocked by it because they have two golf carts. They're no, this
Yeah.
is not
Yeah. It's
something
just the next
unusual for
step.
them.
Yep. Yeah. It's there's some interesting parts because when you get out, again, I came from the East Coast and the cities where there was superchargers on every corner, and now I live in the middle of farm country where you see them very seldomly. And also the same thing is where I used to seeing Teslas was on every corner in DC, and now if I see one or two a day out here in the Midwest, it's a lot. So I do think it's definitely coming. I do think that there's going to be a shift in the time frame of it. And I think that the new administration.
I'm not going to prognosticate the timeline of when we're going to completely get rid of it. But it was interesting when, and it's still, believe it or not, it's still in the books in Pennsylvania. You need to, when you go to an intersection, you are to get out of your vehicle and shoot your
Wave a
shotgun,
flag.
wave a flag or shoot your shotgun in the air,
Yeah.
right? Because horses are coming, and they want to protect
Massachusetts,
the
if you're
horses.
driving more than 50, if you're driving, you're supposed to have someone in front of your car waving a flag. I think they might have taken it off the
They
books,
might take it
but
off
when I grew up, that was still a blue law. They
true,
call it. Yeah.
right? And
Um,
the horse and buggy guys
Yeah,
are like,
no, I listen, that I'm a technologist as it is, so I adopt all those things fairly early. I just, what I'm learning is that as I move across the country, that there's just we live in a little bit of a vacuum on the East Coast where, it's really
sure.
where those cars are everywhere, and it was
Where
an early
people live,
adoption. And
where the majority of people live, yeah.
well,
Um,
gas again. I only pay 250 for gas here. Usually,
wow.
if that. No joke. I paid yesterday 240 something.
But since I've
I
had
went to
my car,
California and
we've
it
been to
was
gas station
$7. I
twice.
was at a heart attack.
I don't care because you know what? I've been to gas station twice since I bought a
Right.
car.
Well, you have the right idea. That's where my next one is probably that in between hybrid. There. I'm one of those people. I'm terrible for the car industry because I drive them until they drop down. Till they basically stop working.
Well,
Um,
you're good for the car fixer upper guy.
No, well, knock on wood, yeah, I actually just did do that. I just had to get some brakes. But no, I'm pretty good about doing the standard maintenance all the time. One of those nerds, like, every 3,000, get the oil changed. It lasts. I'm driving a 2016 Kia, and I love it. I love my car. I got all the bells. I'm one of those guys. I buy all the bells and whistles. I go top end. I get everything.
I have been in that car. I know how.
Yeah, yeah. So I buy everything and then I'm good for like 7, 8 years. I try to go 8 years. I'm right there already. And actually now I'm driving less and less. That you got me working out of the house. I appreciate it. So it makes my life a little easier and not as much of a rush there. And I don't spend nearly the amount of time in traffic in Midwest Ohio that I did in DC.
And that's a
So
good point, right? We're seeing that now where Amazon tried to force people back into the offices and nobody wants to go, right? And it's smart because you're saving on gas, you're saving on time,
time, like we talked
clothes,
about.
watch. I mean, it's all kinds of things that you save on, right? You know what's I've seen a lot of is failures is in the restaurant business. Restaurants are closing up everywhere. People aren't going out to eat. Oh, on the way home, they're going to pick up some food. Nope, they're going home and because they're already home. They're already making food at home. That time they're saving. So listen, we've talked about this. I said cake was, chest. People are going to go out to the fancier
Better
midway kind
restaurants, yeah.
of, yeah, mid restaurants, not the fancy or the McDonald's, but the mid ones, right? And you're going to see that. So yeah, there's 98,000 again on Bitcoin again.
Yeah, like we said,
Here,
we're not worried. You know what I'm interested
here
in?
we
I
go.
haven't
We're
looked at.
open now. Tick
Yep.
down about 400 here already. I'm not really seeing anything I'm really interested in yet. Let me pull up Nvidia. Are we looking at Nvidia this morning again?
I'm on AI this morning. Like I said, I want to see what it does here after earnings. I'm looking more at an earnings,
C3 now down
retracement
about
here.
11.5%. That could
That's what
be
I'm
where we
saying.
stop.
That's what I mean. Is I think we're going to see this drop down here, and I'm interested on a play on it if we get a little bit of
Down
support.
14.5% now on AI
Yeah, that's
trade.
what I mean. I think these one day after the earnings reports have been an area of interest to me. If we hit
All right,
that 30,
I'm actually buying AI right now. Down about 12. Oh crap, I missed it. I think.
it's taken off a little bit. I was looking at that 35.50. It's already back at 36.80.
Damn it! I just wanted to
That
pass
caught
it
it
on something.
quick there. That caught it quick.
All right, I am in at. Let's see. Do the order there.
Ron, who manufactures those charging stations? That's a great question. I mean, Tesla does their own superchargers, so they're all about their own systems. One of the reasons that Rivian is moving up is the talk about their superchargers. They've partnered with some of the other companies like Ford and Volkswagen and are producing their own version of a supercharger. So maybe Rivian will play there. Rivian stock has really been moving back up, and Rivian's actually the car that I see out here. They've been talking about how sort of the outdoors person, the farmers, the people are using Rivian trucks, because Cybertrucks aren't that available out here. We are open here. Yeah, man, I missed that on AI. I was ready, but it went
I
went a little
I,
too
I am
quick.
still in. Okay,
I
yeah.
like it.
So,
37. Here
oh
you
heck
go.
yeah, heck yeah,
37.
heck yeah,
37.
heck yeah, heck yeah. Let's go. I'm moving so fast now I can't even get out now. Okay, hold on.
37.01. 37.15. Steve. 37.20. There you go, man. 37.40, Steve. 37.45.
And I'm out. There we go. There we go, boys and girls. Let me get the answer here. We nailed that one. 2,000 shares, folks. You
Look
saw
at
this
that.
live here. I'll give you the numbers. Just got to pull them up. It was because I was moving so dang fast on this. Wow. Holy moly, 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 moly. Good game here.
Nice
Wow.
move there, Steve.
37.71. We saw AI here. You talked about it, Hondo, and we
Yeah.
nailed this one this morning. So let's pull this up
Look at
here.
that. 38. 38 right now. Wow. Steve, we've got someone asking about the Chargers that you saw in Florida. Do you know who the producer was on those? Were
I
those
don't. That's a good question. I don't know the answer
okay,
to that.
that was being asked here? We'll try to find that out. And Ron was saying how he sees a lot of Rivians out where he is also. So it does seem like that is the, one that's actually becoming a viable product. I do believe that they are entering that world of not if, but a when they sort of start taking off. So I am sort of moving to that a little bit there. Look at that. AI, I think we were down 15% there when you got in. It's now only down
Oh yeah, dude. I
8%.
I, I crushed it. Yep, crushed it here. 36.32 was where my entry was. 37.30 was my exit. So I got out a little too early, but that was an easy win for us. And you
Nice.
saw Bitcoin flying up to 98.4 and now already back down 97.8. I mean, they just dumped right there. I don't really understand that one.
Yeah, well, I
Um,
think it's like you said, overnight, Sailor and some of the boys aren't buying the ETFs, although they do actually buy in off hours usually. But, hey, again, the other one that we talked about yesterday, I'm going to pat myself on the back yesterday, Steve. One of the biggest gappers up today is UNFI, United Natural Foods. I said it was going into earnings yesterday. Pointed out the gap up it took after its last earnings when it moved from 16 up to 23. We see it move here today. It gapped up from 24 to 29.06 here and continuing to move up. Again, health food, health food, health food. On the other side of that, Steve, did you see? Well, this is one you can't really play too much, but Hershey's is Mondelez talking about going in after Hershey's. Who's been talking about M&A in the food industry?
we've been talking about Hershey's. I mean, it's
You.
like it's a
Yeah.
win-win-win-win-win. It's obvious what's happening here. Hershey's stock because cocoa, the prices, but they have everything, right? They have
Yeah.
parts,
Amusement
they've
parks,
got
everything. Yeah.
TV, it's crazy what Hershey's does, and Mondelez is smart, right? They did the same thing with Cadbury in Europe. They went right
Yep.
after Cadbury and got it. And if you don't know Mondelez, they are a big conglomerate,
Yeah. Conagra and Mondelez supply 90% of your processed food.
correct,
Literally.
yes.
Hey,
But here's what you
Kraft.
just
I forgot
said.
Kraft. Kraft's in there.
Here's what
Kraft.
you just said:
Yeah.
processed food, and I
Oh
don't know
yeah,
that
that's why but listen, you know my
processed. Wow, look at that AI now at 3880 now. Wow, dang it. Ugh,
I gotta stop talking
close,
so
getting
much and
close.
start trading more.
39. There it is. We called
Yeah,
it out
I
right here.
said,
Let's
I mean,
go.
I'll tell you, I mean, I think it moves back up to 43. I really do, Steve. I just look at this and it's got a little bit of resistance that we're going to see here at this, if it breaks past this 39.24, watch out. It's going.
Is there just a big seller at 98,000 on Bitcoin right now?
I don't know if there's one big seller or if there's just people selling. Again, Steve, I think people are testing it. I think that, what they do is they probe. The whales are probing right now. I also wonder how much of this is IBIT, how much of this is BlackRock. We've got new players in the game that have
Yeah,
options and all these other ways to win. You know what I mean? Is we talked about it. Look at it again. So the dump happened during the off hours where the options didn't move, right? And what
right.
happened as soon as options were open? Price was
Yeah.
right back and it was actually up from where it closed at. So there seems to me to be some sort of manipulation there. I'm not, that's why, like I said, I have to see it. Yeah, and Ron, yeah, AI hit 49 yesterday. That's why I say I think it hits 43 today. I think you can definitely see that bounce back. I don't know if it happens all at once, but it's in the cards. Its earnings weren't bad. It's just it's not profitable yet. That's a problem for people. It's a problem for me. It's just not profitable yet. Will it be profitable? Yes, I fully know that it will be. Their connections at there and their tie into Microsoft. Let's face it, they're Microsoft's answer to AI. Everybody sort of has their partner, right? And that's one of the big ones that you got to watch. This is a player in that game. And that's why Steve took profit, though. You can see it's not a straight line up. It's pulling back down a little bit. We could test this spot a couple more times here today. But ultimately, I like the move. Buy it right there. I want to take a look at sectors here, see what's going on across sectors, Steve. And in general, wow, 9 out of the 11 sectors, only consumer discretionary and communication services moving up today. And communications, I'm going to say it's moving up because yesterday it had such a terrible day, right? We talked about the hit that T-Mobile took yesterday, AT&T, sort of all the broadband carriers cellular carriers got hit yesterday. So we're just seeing that mean reversion here. That's not a trade
Well,
to
I
me
mean, it's
yet.
obvious. I just saw it. I've seen it twice now. AT&T. We talked about it yesterday. AT&T giving away now an
Yeah,
iPad
I got
with
to do that today or tomorrow. I got to get my phones and my dad's phone upgraded. So I'll let you know what I can, get out of them. I haven't decided if I'm going to do the iPad for the little one yet. It's tough when they're free. Just say no. All Mag 7 leading the way. So
tech. Tick now down 700 here. So be careful out
Steve,
there.
we're seeing the 1 day up, the 1 days down, right? Yesterday we were talking, I think 5 of the 7 mag were down today, all of them
Yeah.
up. We'll see. Amazon just went negative. We'll see what comes out of this here today. But this market hasn't been as heavily reliant on the Mag 7 lately. Small cap, small cap, small cap, right? Every day we talk about it. The rut just seems to keep on moving up. Finally taking a hit here today, so maybe we see small caps finally starting to get into some headwinds here. And again, it's one you started talking about with Michael Litt back here in, I think it was mid-August, right? You
Oh,
guys
we're gonna
brought that
drop an
up when the
AI.
rut was
AI.
trading at 2100, rut now at 2383. You
Yeah,
guys
it's been
started
small
talking
cap.
about
Yeah.
small caps at that point.
There we go. Wow, the Bitcoin just dropped 97 too now.
Yeah, like I said, they're probing both ways. They're just trying. So what there is right now is there's too much speculation, too much leverage in the perps. We're seeing a
I agree.
run
Get
back
rid of
into
those
the
guys.
into the world of gambling, where you're
Yeah.
seeing all of these people. Listen, when they made the run from 98 to one, 103 there, 104. A lot of people were highly levered, made a lot of money. So now they just keep thinking they're going to rinse and repeat. What we again, I keep bringing up the talks we have with our guest, Dr. Alan Ellman, again yesterday. We talked about that. Is you have to watch out for that over exuberance, and you have to realize that for every move there is an alternative move that comes out of it. And again, Stephen Flanagan talks about it, right? When everybody's got all of their fishing rods over the left side of the boat, you might want to start to cast over to the right side.
AI under 37 here, as tick now down 700 here as
Yeah,
more
we're getting
sellers
hit
are.
across the boards here. QQQ still up because now led by the Mag 7 today.
Guys, it's
Uh,
going to be one of those pools where the market just goes, you know what, we're a little high right here.
yep, it does. It does. It does feel that way.
Ripple is now 216 now here.
Like I said, I like Ripple in this area as a long-term play. But here's what it is this is a play on the fact that there are 4 or 5 applications out for ETFs. We've seen the moves up by Bitcoin. We saw the move up by even Ethereum, which was a laggard. But when it got its ETF, it jumped up too, right? So the
Yeah.
bottom line is Solana, XRP, the next two, without a doubt, that are going to see ETFs. I like to nibble in these areas for that jump up the same way I like to nibble. Like I said, when China drops down, I like to nibble because they're going to announce a stimulus. It's going to take that pump, immediately sell off into that pump because then they don't have a follow through on those stimulus moves.
I'm
And we
seeing
see that today.
Bitcoin pushing here a little bit. Coffee prices just hit a 47-year high.
That's not good for me. I live on coffee.
I
I know that
don't
you're a
like it.
Coca-Cola guy. I can't live without my coffee.
Wow,
Dow
47.
down a half a point already today here, 0.42. So we're definitely seeing the Dow get a hit. I mean, all the sectors getting
All
hit
right.
pretty
We're
hard
seeing a
here.
little bit of NASDAQ here pushing here, just a wee bit here. Up 76 points here. Near the highs of the day.
I'll tell you what, the Dow gets interesting if it approaches its 50-day MA around 43,294 here, Steve. As you can see, that's been some nice bottom support on this run. It's been real nice bottom support here. Hell, going back all the way to October. So I wouldn't.
Wow, we're now AI is now below where I got out at.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're seeing moves up and down there. They aren't one-way streets at all. American Airlines holding up nice again. Their biggest news was really about the fact that their credit cards, with combination with Citi, is doing so well. Rent the Runway, another one getting a nice little move up here today, 3.79. That's an interesting company. They rent out prom dresses and things for teenagers and younger kids. Fascinating company if you ever look at it. Started by a young kid. Wow, yeah, AI back down 11% here after
Palantir
moving up.
now 74.24 here. MSTR up 2.36%. So I mean, somebody's betting on it.
ASO had a little bit of a miss on earnings, but holding up strong. I know our man Ron was hoping for a pullback there to get into that, but it is
Going
definitely.
back above the 160 handle here.
We talked about that before. Boeing restarted their 737 MAX program. Good to
Thank
see
God.
that.
Yeah.
Very happy to see that.
Come on, Bitcoin. Here we go. 97.7 again. And NASDAQ now on the highs of the day.
Steve, I wanted to bring up a few. I mentioned I was looking at a couple of stocks that were approaching their 200-day MAs here,
Yep.
as a possibility of maybe, this is a good time. When I was at Prosper, Scott Bauer was big on using it. Texas Instruments here just broke just below its 200-day MA, but an interesting one here that I've been looking at. Again, chip factors, TXN. I don't know.
Chips are a wild card right now, considering the tariffs, considering China, considering Taiwan, considering Japan, considering Vietnam, considering the United States, political. There's all kind of chips are not on the top of my buy
Buy list
list.
right now. Okay, what about Intuit?
97.9 again. Here we come on. Let's go back to 98. Let's probe that top there again.
Steve, I got another one for you, and this one even has two forms of nice support under it with the 50 and the 200. with the 50 just crossing above the 200, the golden cross. And that is Intuit. And guess what we're getting into? Tax
I was
season,
gonna say
right?
you're absolutely right. Tax season is the answer here yet. Although I'll be honest with it, people are not using tax services like that as much as they were in the past. So H&R Block could be one. You could also HRB could be you could be looking at that one
Yeah,
too. So,
no, yeah. I mean, so I've found that they've done a better job, and I actually found it prosper that a lot of the students were using their stuff there. So I do think a
right,
lot of
they're not just
retail
using
traders.
right. They're not just using TurboTax anymore. So yeah.
No, they like this because it's tied into QuickBooks and they can do everything there. And especially, know who's using this a lot is traders that start their own LLCs to trade out of.
Okay, there you go. Yep.
So I did notice that when I was at Prosper. So that's why that's what I'm looking at. Another one, Steve, that's in that area. I already have half a point today, so it might have moved a little bit further away than I would like. But Chevron. And again, we
Mm.
just had the Golden Cross come up yesterday on Chevron with the 50 breaking through the 200. And it's got a nice support level here, even on our S&R indicators. What do you think about Chevron here?
Well, we talked about oil all morning. Look,
Yeah.
being next to it, look, oil's not going away. Look, I think people look at oil and say, okay, what's gas prices? It's tied to gas prices. Oil is in everything we do. Plastic,
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. And like I
lipstick.
said, I think they're going to be a winner in these methane flaring. They're going to gain more money as that gets
Yeah,
used more and
yeah,
more. And I think that the new administration is going to understand that connection because Elon uses it in his Bitcoin mining facility that they have with MicroStrategy.
yeah.
So I think it's going to be an interesting one. Chevron one here that I like, again, also on a retracement here to that 155 level for sure. Another one I'm interested in that again that Elon not a fan of, Lockheed Martin. He was I don't know if you saw he said that the F-35 is a disgrace or something. I didn't read too much into it, but I was more interested
I'm
in the
not going to
fact that
look at Elon Musk as the guy who's going to tell us how to military.
but I don't know. I think I like LMTF, this 200-day MA also for a nice little move here. Some of these are really good to look at too using covered calls or selling cash secured puts. Um, in these, they've been dropping down. People will continue to think that maybe that 500 level, and you could look to to sell those puts. So definitely some ones I'm keeping an eye on here. Another one, ADI, which is analog devices. Um, that one's got to do a little bit more. It's got to regain here that 200-day MA for me, but that's another one I'm looking at here. Do you know what this? Never mind. This company didn't hold up. I was trying to see what this Marsh and McLennan Companies does.
I have
Because they have been holding like a champ on this 200, going all the way back here to like 2023, March of 2023. But here
Yeah,
this
I don't.
morning
This one
they've
I
sort
don't
of
know. You know.
they've dropped way below it. So they were one I was going to do a little bit more research on. AMT is another one that's in an interesting spot here. American Tower Corporation is one that you've talked about over the years. They build a lot of the cell towers, right? Or they own the land under the cell towers. Is that what you've told me in the past?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so that's one that I keep an eye on here. If it
And
breaks back,
they build the towers too. They're all they own everything. American Tower is a great company. They probably did well during the hurricanes because they probably moved a lot of those AMTs. Yeah.
okay. So that is one that I'm definitely looking at too. So there's a decent amount in that area just above or right at the 200-day MA. So keep those on your watch list, everybody. Again, the ones I'm talking about: Texas Instrument TXN, Intuit INTU, Chevron CVX. I think Chevron's my favorite out of the group right now. LMT is one I think you could sell some puts against, and looks pretty interesting there. Analog devices is sort of a play on the whole AI area, and again, picks and shovels that makes the switches and little connectors used in data centers. Marsh McLennan, I don't know as much about that. Going to do some more research. And then again, AMT, another one that Steve's been a fan of. They usually pay a pretty good dividend, if I'm not mistaken, too, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
I'll take a look, tell you what that dividend's at right now. Oh, 3.1%. Yeah, so not a bad dividend there. So I want to keep an eye on here. Those are ones that I'm looking more at a long-term play as they use the 200-day MA as some momentum here. Let's keep an eye on what's going on. tick still down another 200 here. Advanced decline, negative about 2,400, and all the advanced lines. Nasdaq down 194, their advanced decline. New York Stock Exchange's advanced decline down 221 currently. So we're seeing a move there. The Dow getting hit the hardest. QQQ up almost a half a point, led by the Mag 7 so far, big time. Almost all the Mag 7s
Yeah,
up
I mean, the
nicely.
Nasdaq just hit an intraday all-time high. I mean, it's
Yeah, it's being pushed today. Google up 5.85%. Look at that run today. I didn't see that one coming. Google just boom. Tesla up 3%. Nvidia 1.64. Definitely
I mean,
all
for
moving in
me,
those
I'm
markets.
looking at international stocks. I'm no longer looking at U.S. companies. I'm looking at mutual funds and things, ETFs in the international world. I don't want, look, U.S. stocks are high and they're staying high and they're being pushed higher. That's great. And guess what? I'm still in them, but I'm not I'm not margining stuff to get to be in the stocks, right? I think the world of international is probably much better than where we're at.
Some plays there to keep in mind if you're looking here in the U.S. would be ASML, of course. We've talked a
Yep.
lot about that one, and that one's holding up here pretty nice. If it can break that 50-day MA, not a bad one to take a look at. Other ones I know Steve has talked about in the past, ING. If you like the banking area, is another play you could look at. And again, you can see how these are all sort of beat down. Um, Lloyd's of London would be another one to take a look at, right? Especially if
Yep.
you believe
Good old LYG. Yeah.
yeah, and Lloyd's is the other part I would point out there is again, if you are a follower of Stephen Flanagan and his thesis that a winner in the new administration is going to be the UK versus the EU, and Nang
Right.
Mattel talked about that with us also. Those are all ones to keep an eye on. Steve
Him and his
say,
buddy Nicholas Farage, right? So
yeah, we're seeing URI get hit here. Ron's mentioning United Rentals. They did just sort of bounce back up off of that 782 area here. So they are bouncing back up a little bit here. See, I'm trying to see if there's any news. No, in fact, the fact of the day is that Citigroup just raised its price target on URI to 985. So that's an interesting one, Ron. And that's an interesting sport that might be worth dabbling in there. Bitcoin back down right around 98,000 here. Gold trying to make a run, finally breaking through that 2650 and holding above that here, Steve. So looks like it might try to make another run back up to 27 here. Silver finally inching up above 32. That had been an area that I had really struggled with here. Nat gas is right back at you $3, Steve. You gonna try to rinse and repeat on that one at some point here?
maybe it's cold. I mean, I think people are being a little silly with selling their nat gas because it's very cold out there. I am looking at one mutual fund here, looking at MAIIX. I don't know that you have that, but in their top 10 holdings, Novo Nordisk, ASML, and Nestle, and AstraZeneca, and Shell, and Toyota, and
TradingView doesn't
LVMH.
have that,
These
unfortunately.
are all the stocks that I'm looking at, right? I like this one here. I think I might pull the
What was
trigger
that
on
ticker again?
MAIIX. You probably don't have it because it's mutual
It's not on
funds.
there. I'm gonna look it up here on one of the other sites and just pull it up from
Yeah.
like Yahoo Finance for Everybody or something else. Here we go. So that's iShares, the
Hmm.
MSCI of their internationals, and we've talked about I like their MCSI. I played that for a nice win in the China deals. I shorted that when I thought China was too hot. I'm pulling that over here to our screen. Sorry.
Uh,
Got it here. Morningstar.
and this is a stock you got to put in your IRA. You can't just trade
Trade
this
it.
one here.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Like
Major
you said,
holding
they
company.
own Novo Nordisk, ASML, Nestle, AstraZeneca, Shell, Toyota. One of my favorites, LVMH, Moet Hennessy,
All the things we've been
Novartis,
talking about, right?
SAP, and Roche. Yeah, I could see that without a doubt. I could definitely see that. I like that call, Steve. So again, anyone that was listening in here, this is MAIIX, which is the iShares mutual fund that is attracted to the European market mostly. It does have in Toyota and some others that are from Asia, but mostly the European stock market.
And I'm also looking at Latin America. As you know, yesterday I bought. I've been buying Latin American. Wow, there you go. Come on, AI, push it again. 38.70 there.
Merely back at 1846 here. I hadn't looked at that since we made that nice move on that. When it approached its 200-day MA here, we played that back at that 1760. I do think that's an interesting one also. If we can see a little bit more downward movement there, that would be interesting to me. Mara back up above 24 here as we looked at sort of the crypto mining stocks and such. I see Clean Spark is in the positive here. Oh, now in the negative, never mind. We are seeing IBIT and all the ETFs up almost 2% here today, so they are moving up. MicroStrategy back at 375 area here, so regaining a little bit of strength here. They did buy about 2 billion more in Bitcoin yesterday, they said. Some of the alts here. DBI now down 12.61. Designer Brands. Again, that was on the bad reports out of DSW. People are not buying winter shoes for some reason. AZO now up 0.82%, and Unify continuing to be the winner here, up 26.3% here. Health food definitely taking the lead here. Health food's definitely running. Costco's got earnings coming up. They're about up a half a point here. That's going to be an interesting one to watch as they go into earnings here. Do they break into an all-time high 997? Does that break the $1,000 mark? We know those round numbers are usually pretty interesting. A break of 1,000 here, you could see a big run on
Right.
Costco. That's a nice
They
round number.
they are definitely trading the Bitcoin there. That is.
Again, we talked a little bit about Schwab and Robinhood yesterday. Big winners in this trading world. Both up again nicely today.
Tick up 5 points.
It's good to see it moving in the right direction. Here's one of your Latin American plays, Steve, that's moving today is YPF Sociedad Anónima.
I mean, I like Latin America. PRLAX is one that I have been buying a lot of the mutual fund. PRLAX. I think Latin America is definitely someplace I like right now. So, um, I think you look at Grupo Mexico, CEMEX, companies like that.
Yep,
I do like, yeah.
absolutely.
Tick up 54 now. But you know what? The advanced decline line right now is minus 2,600. So that's a little halt. We're seeing a halt here in NEHC, New Era Helium, NEHC.
Halt on the wrong
Down.
side. Halt on the wrong side.
Yeah,
Anyway, that was
down.
trading at 1250 yesterday, 490 today. Ooh,
Yeah. They're hurting here. New Era Helium here at 490 is shared down 43%. Um,
yeah, I don't even know what they do. I'm assuming they're in the helium business. Oh, it's actually, it says it's a blank check acquisition company. So
There you go.
they might be running out of their steam, right? Could you explain that to people that there is a time constraint to these SPACs?
That's right. Yeah, you build a SPAC, you go to the SEC and say, "Hey, I want to raise some money, and I want to spend it on something on a company." And when you don't do that, you got to delete that SPAC, and it's depending on how it's all set up. But that's
Yeah,
why
but we
I don't
I don't
invest in
play in
SPAC.
those. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. We
and you
did
know what's interesting about
during COVID. They were fun. Don't get me
it was
wrong.
funny because during COVID, right? I was like, SPACs. Oh my God, people are talking about SPACs again. Like seriously, like if you talk about SPACs, you're an idiot, right? So here we go. They were talking about SPACs again, and I don't want to hear about it. So yeah, special
Man,
acquisition
and
companies,
you can see
SPA.
we're hanging by a thread here today because you look at the chips, everything highly in the red except for Nvidia. ASML actually holding up too.
We're
Um,
seeing Gels, GELS has been halted as Geotech, and they are up 16%, but on the downside, still up 16%. So they might be one. Um, there's a lot of trading halts going on right now, folks.
yeah, there's a lot of volatility and a lot of volume in these small pumpers, as we know.
Yeah, there's
I
only
was more
so
focused
many.
today. I was focused on that list of the 200 MA as opposed to my normal daily pumpers. That one, that'd be tough for that to bounce back. It is right at its zone right here. If it holds up above 402 or so, but this is one that really, again, I think if we look, it once it broke two, that's what sort of took it off. I don't necessarily like that. I'll tell you what we got on pumpers here. Let's see. Let's see what we got here. I do see one of my favorites is in the mix here. BNZI is a good pumper that pump.
Gels is open and is actually pushing it up a little bit here,
Okay.
but only 3.9 million shares trading hands. So be careful there.
This is what I'm going to keep an eye on right here. Bonsai, if it can make a move back through this VWAP, gets above $2 here, could be interesting. Let's see what else we got.
Dow
Cinemerx.
Chemical is now down 2.2% here. A big Dow Chemical. If you look at Dow Chemical from a perspective of a daily chart, Dow Chemical has been beaten up quite heavily here over a little while. So, um, you know, Mizuho gave him a neutral rating. It looks like, yeah, DOW.
Yep.
We might be getting close on DOW though. If you're a long-term holder of stocks like that, dogs.
Oof. That is not a
U.S.
noise you said
dollar
there.
there, 106.50 now, and the dollar pushing up here as spot gold dropping 26.87. That would push a little bit against crypto, but the dollar, yeah.
Let's see here. Here's a pumper for you that looks pretty good. Cardiff Oncology, CRDF, could be in play
Oh,
here.
Cardiff. Okay, yeah.
CRDF. Just crossed back across
I
VWAP
haven't,
here.
I haven't seen Cardiff in a while.
Looks like it might be on halt. That would make sense. 347 now, it's still moving. This is definitely one that could be in play here. 346. Need to see it bounce off VWAP here at 330. Bounce back up. Definitely could be one to keep an eye on here. CRDF.
Palantir up 3.2%, back to $75 a share there.
And I think that's part of my thesis behind Oracle too. Every time that I think that Oracle's gone as high as it can, every time I think Palantir has gone as high as it can, and it gets that little pullback, and I say, "Oh, see, I was right." It blows through those numbers.
And Netflix now 9.19 a share. I called that, especially on Schwab the other day.
Yeah.
I said we're going to 1,000 by next year, and the stock was trading around 680, something like that, 700. Now we're at 9.19. It's still going higher.
Yep. Okay, Steve, we've hit the 10 o'clock hour here. I would say CRDF does look like it's going to run here. CRDF might be your play here, folks, looking for a pumper, 350. I do like it here. I like it here for a move to 480. I'd be looking to take my first profit at 416, 417. So it's at 350 right now, looking for a play to about 415 for first profit. Second profit at 480. I'd have my stop loss right about 320. And here it goes, 360. These are the setups you want to see where couldn't get through VWAP, breaks through it. Usually a pretty explosive move here on the short-term charts here. There it goes, 362. Wants to run. Steve, so what we thinking? Oh, Ron was asking us if we have any thoughts on ASTS. Did not see that, Ron. Sorry about that. ASTS. I'll take a look here. And those satellite companies worry me a little bit right now.
I like ASTS. I think, I think, look, you have a guy in the presidency of President-elect who's hired Mr. Mars himself. So, you know what? Lunar, LUNR, ASTS, all these companies that will have contracts from the government will probably get contracts from the government to go to space and go to the moon and Artemis and all these things. NASA's going to get a good boost here, but I don't know if it'd be NASA specifically. It could be Elon Musk's company.
Yeah. My problem with it, I've looked at it a few times because ASTS does move, is I'm more concerned about the fact that it can't break through, Ron. If you look at this area right here, couldn't get through 30 on that spot, couldn't get through it here, couldn't get through it here. So for me, it's going to have to break through that 31 area right here for me to be a player in that move. Um, it's not respecting the 50-day MA. If it's respecting it at all, it's more respecting it to the downside. So that from a technical analysis spot, I don't know that it's a spot for an
Hearing
entry right here.
Vladimir Putin has met with India's defense minister. Ooh,
That's interesting.
hey, we'll be shooting missiles over your country.
Yeah. Ron, I would say though, I mean, again, if you're looking more for just a short-term pop-up to that 31 area, it's definitely respected that same support at this, area right here that you can see. So it does for one of Steve's scalps, it looks like a nice spot for it. But for as of a longer term play, if you're looking for it there, I would look for it to break above that 32 before I got in there. Anytime, Ron. Well, we're going to take off here, folks. I want to thank you, Steve, for all of your insight today. Again, I'm going to get some mutual funds. I do have to make my yearly readjustments there, so I like that move. And we will see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I'll be right back here at 10:30 with our interview with Dr. Alan Ellman. And then we have Jeremy Vreeland and Matthew Tuttle at 11:30 with the watch list. And at 1 o'clock, we got Charlie Moon in for Scott Bauer for live from the SIBO talking about options. So we will see you all tomorrow. Thank you so much.